shooting it in 2 pieces because it's a 197-page script, broken down into 12 episodes. And we'll shoot the first half February 24th and March 3rd, and then the last half the last week of March. It was just too big, and I can't ask my East Coast people to stay away from their families that long. And I didn't want to kill people. You know, that's a lot, 197 pages to shoot in 2 weeks.
Do you have any other questions for Scott?
One more question. What do you think about the Netflix? I've been watching House of Cards, and that's a whole new way to start doing stuff now. And you look like that's what you guys are doing, you know, on a much smaller thing. Do you see the industry turning to basically we're going to do 12 shows, we're going to stick them up, and you can watch them all at one time, or you can, you know, space it out? I mean, honestly, I started watching House of Cards, and I watched 6 of them before I said, whoa, I got to stop this, you know.
Have you gone back and finished?
I'm sorry?
Have you gone back to finish the series? Have you gone back to finish? There are 13 of them, right?
Yeah, the 13 of them. I'm on 6, and the film festival got in the way, so So, I mean, that's a $100 million project, so it's kind of, you know, way up here. But do you see the industry heading that way?
Yes, I do. I do. I think it's there's a lot of freedom in it, like I said, and it's that's a lot of money. That's a huge budget, and I think that I went to a digital summit conference in New York the end of last year, and with all the big guys there, Google, Yahoo, all of them, and they're creating original content, but they're working at a deficit. So they're paying out of pocket to make these shows in the hopes that advertisers will catch up, and they will. I do believe they will. I think that this year is a very pivotal year. I don't know that there's going to be, you know, huge money being made through advertising revenue, but I do believe that advertisers are starting to look at the internet as a means, an alternative means of getting their product out there. And you know, well, whether or not you put geo-blocks on it or not, I think they globally sell it and syndicate it. So there are ways, they're trying different ways to make the money back. I think it's interesting about putting all 13 out there, though, because I get overloaded too. And you know, it's one of those things, I kind of like want to, that's why I do it one at a time. But I'm not saying that that's the wrong way to do it. I just think it's interesting, and I'm curious to see how that works for them.
Is the structure of the Grove going to be kind of like Venice in terms of like episodic? Talk about that, and what is the release pattern for the Grove?
We're going to do it like we did Venice. We're going to write 12 episodes, picking up from where we left off, and do a season. And the idea from the beginning was to do a season of Venice, and then do a season of the Grove, and then go back, sort of like a telenovela. So you have that little gap of time where, you know, you're wondering what's going to happen. There's hopefully some anticipation. I have time to write the thing with my writers. That we, you know, because it's that time that we take to actually write. I don't know how soaps do it because they're constantly churning this stuff out. But we have that period of time where you can actually sit and write the story and change it again. I think it's very helpful.
You're married to an actor, Michael Sabatino. How is he involved in the productions? Obviously, he was in the first season of Venice. Is he into all of this as well, or?
He is a wonderfully creative person, and you know, like I said, he's a far better writer than I am. He's very creative, and he's more involved with the story aspects of the Grove. Beyond that, you know, somebody has to watch my kids. They'll just run off. So
especially Dylan.
Absolutely. Especially
Maggie.
And Maggie. You know, he's been so supportive from the beginning, and it was really when I was working on Days and doing Venice at the same time. There was no downtime, to the point where my kids are going, "Are you working on Venice again?" But he was very supportive, and with the Grove, he lets me go and produce, and he knows that means getting in the car and driving away. And but when it comes to story and being a part of that whole process, he's right there.
Do you envision him being in more of either in the Grove or his character recurring?
Yes, his character will be in the Grove. He's going to be the mayor of the town. Somebody's got to run that lady then.
Is actress, and there's more and more films coming to Georgia, but not all agents will pay for the breakdowns for LA and New York. How would you go about getting an agent in either LA or New York without mailing out 5,000 headshots and resumes or whatever? Any idea? And also, some places they'll say, send everything to the casting directors. Just be your own mail person and send it out to every casting director. And others say they don't want it. So, what's the best way to get myself out there?
Well, isn't most of it digital these days? Online?
But you can't always get an email address to send it to a digitally.
There's always a way.
I know there's a couple of actors. We use an actress, Adrienne Wilkinson, who plays Adrienne. She actually does a few different things. She had a situation where she was on Xena Warrior Princess. Her career was going really well, and then her agent basically had a breakdown. And when that happened, she really couldn't get, because LA's, productions are getting, like you said, they're moving out of the city. So, the parts are getting really scarce in Los Angeles. She does a combination, and she does it well. There's a couple of websites out there, and I'm sorry I don't know the names, but there's a couple of websites out there that you can put your reel up and you can put your headshots up and stuff. Some of the casting directors go out and see.
The other different casting sites.
Yeah, there's some casting sites. The other thing is, and this sounds really crazy, but it's true, IMDb. Once you get yourself on IMDb,
I'm on there. I have credits on there.
put your credits on
I'm a
there.
SAG actress. I have 8 credits.
Okay, put your headshots on there, and if you have any clips, like if you can
The
do
reels
the
are good.
yeah.
I've gone to the internet to watch
Yeah.
people's
So
reels.
if you have really good little clips, and it doesn't have to be big, it can be like 2 minutes, it can be 30 seconds or whatever, but if you have clips, pay the money for IMDb to put those on IMDb, because it's amazing. Crystal and I had a situation with the unions where they actually go and they look at that website. Even though it's a public website, you can do what but Adrienne really has luck with that. And there's a few what they call boutique agents, smaller agents in Los Angeles.
That's probably the way to go.
That would be my
Smaller.
suggestion. You don't necessarily, at least according to Adrienne, you don't necessarily have to have one in New York or Los Angeles. Check.
Even locally.
Yeah, check locally,
I
check
would do
Atlanta,
that.
see if they have them, especially for local commercials and local production. Atlanta probably has some.
Yeah, Atlanta Models and Talent and People are the two that are decent in Atlanta. And also, I would encourage you to...
And I've submitted to them several times, and they always are not interested at this time. So.
I would totally encourage you to come back right here at 1 o'clock today, because we have a
I'm
casting
gonna be
director who's actually going to be extremely well prepared to talk for an entire hour about how to market yourself as an actor. So,
I'm gonna be here.
come back, because she's from LA and New York. She does casting there, and she also does Atlanta. So she's a fountain of knowledge of that, and I'm sure she'll be able to answer your question
And your
with
local
even more
TV
information.
The local TV stations here, call them and find out who does their commercial production. You guys obviously, looking at your TV stations, you do a lot of local production for your TV commercials,
Yeah.
and that's really a good way to do it too. So call each one of your stations here in town, like Channel 13, ask them who production manager is and where he casts or how he gets his people to do the car commercials and stuff. That's a good
Yes.
idea.
You guys mentioned production's moving out of LA a lot, and so since we are based here in a right to work state, but we do have a very strong talent base in front of it behind the camera, have you all ever considered coming to a place like Georgia with such great tax incentives?
See, there's more advantages than just me, Crystal.
Fair enough, Lynn.
We got other seniors you could want too.
No, it's funny.
Locations.
I have this other show called Welcome Matt that I acquired the rights to last year, and it really does. It's about a New York father and his 13-year-old daughter, but the setting is really Connecticut, and we were talking to Cindy, and she's selling Georgia, baby.
Good job, Larry.
But just everything that's here, and then certainly we drove in, and I just was like looking at these houses and the porches, and I just want to sit up there and rock. But it's so charming, and then I started thinking, well, it doesn't have to be this Victorian in Connecticut. That we could actually, change it around. And in fact, it would be more interesting because New York and Connecticut are so similar. That it would be nice to have that contrast, and so we went around and looked at houses yesterday, and absolutely, I would love to be here.
And we have gorgeous weather in the summertime, so, I mean, come on.
Is it nice?
Absolutely.
Hot.
Very mild. Hot.
Humid.
unions, I want to hit unions for just a second, please. We're a right to work state, as Sherry mentioned. But a lot of filmmakers, I think, are reluctant to hire union actors because they're daunted by the paperwork and the experience of it. You got something on that? Good or bad? It's
You
just
know
your
what,
experience.
7,000 forms to fill out, and I'm pro-union. I've been a part of AFTRA and SAC for 20-some years, and I'm a member of the WGA, and I understand the purpose, and so I'm totally for them. They want to protect their people. That's what they're there for. Now, that being said, I believe there are people in certain departments who just want to keep their job, like in any company, and they make you jump through hoops. And so, you know, it's a lot of learning the minutia of, and it's stupid stuff. I'm sorry. It's just, you know, you can't have more than 3 writers accredited. Otherwise, they can take you to arbitration. I'm like, well, what happens when that 4th writer comes aboard? I don't get why all of a sudden are we going to arbitration? Does anybody have an answer to that? I'll take it. Go
I
ahead.
just have one thing I want to say. I serve on the SAG-AFTRA board in Atlanta, and our regional executive director, Melissa Goodman, has a reputation nationally of being one of the most supportive offices and welcoming to filmmakers. She really goes out of her way, as we all do here in the union, in a right to work state. We have to be very accommodating to production. So I think if you do come here, you will find a difference. She really reaches out to help filmmakers and make it as simple, as easy as possible. So just so you know.
Oh, I've heard the word easy and free, and I was like,
We're here. So good job, Sherry.
yeah, no, it's just one of those, it's just minutia, and we've learned to laugh it off, and, you know, we've been threatened, my directors have been threatened, I've been threatened, my company's been threatened.
And all for an and sign versus and.
The
Spelling it
ampersand,
out.
the ampersand versus and, or just, so the DGA, like the day before we started production on the Grove, checked our IMDb, and like, it's a public thing. So somebody's added some names to the IMDb, we don't check it every day, and they want to know, they actually wrote us a letter saying, you know, based on the quality of your production, you must be using more DGA members than you've cited. And Krista was like, are they going to shut us down? I said, well, don't give them our location. And, because I said, do I have to get, because they asked for our locations. I'm like, if I don't have to give it to them, I'm not going to give it to them. Because they were threatening us. They were saying that they were going to take my directors into disciplinary action. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? They're all DGA. We've got the paperwork. We put the paperwork in. But based on our IMDb, they thought we were cheating them somehow. And we weren't. But I said to Krista, because she spoke to the guy, I said, please thank him for the lovely compliment.
It's the first thing I said to him. I go, well, you know, just want to say thank you for the backhanded
It was
compliment.
silence.
And he was like,